Hey, are you thinking about buying a property here in Dubai? Whether it's for lifestyle or investment, process is actually much simpler than most people imagine. And in this video, I'm going to walk you step by step through everything you need to know from freehold to leasehold to buying ready or off-plan properties and even the different ways you can structure your ownership. And if this is your first time here, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I share weekly insights on Dubai real estate investment and strategies you won't want to miss. Okay, the first thing you need to know is that here in Dubai we have two kinds of property, leasehold and freehold. A leasehold property is a property that is located in an area where foreigners cannot own a title. You basically lease the property for 99 years and after 99 years you can renew that or give back, but you cannot own the property. So a freehold, in the other hand, are areas where you can actually own the title, but you don't need to be scared. There are good areas. Most of the good areas, they are freehold. Everything that you see on the artificial islands like Palm Jebel Ali, Palm Jumeirah, Blue Waters, Dubai Islands, Jumeirah Islands, all these very upscale and waterfront areas, they are freehold. You can own the title. And several other areas within the Emirate and within the Emirates are also freehold. So you can buy a property, have the title, and that is yours and nobody can take it back. Okay, now that we sort that out, every time you're going to buy a property, you need to ask, is this a freehold or a leasehold? Now let's talk about the agents. I recommend you to use an agent to buy your property, and I'm going to tell you why. If you're buying a property, you're going to come across two situations. If you're going to buy directly from a developer, you're going to deal with that specific developer. And if you want to buy a ready property because you don't want an off-plan, you're going to deal with an agent that represents a seller. What is the problem here? The agent that works for the developer, they are an employee of the developer. They will never say the bad things about the determined developer or project. There's only going to be positive, never gonna have something bad with that. And with the agent that represents a seller, that says everything. He represents the seller. His vested interest is to sell that property, not to help you buy. So that's why you need, as a buyer, to use a buyer's agent. If you want to buy a property that is off plan, that is being developed now to be delivered in the future, if you use an agent, you're not going to pay more for that. And that agent is going to be able to tell you, look, based on your strategy and your needs and your goals, this property is not good, this one is better. Someone that works for the developer never going to be able to do that because they are an employee of the developer. And the agent, even though they are paid by the developer, it doesn't matter which developer you buy because the agent is going to be paid anyway, different from an employee, because if you don't buy with him or that developer, you buy with the competition, they are not going to get paid. So having an agent will help you, number one, to have transparency on the projects because the agent is going to curate the best opportunities based on your goals, and also to reduce the possibility of you getting overwhelmed. Because in the end of the day, here in Dubai, we have several developers, many neighborhoods, and countless number of projects that if you have to go one by one, you're going to analyze the whole city and not going to make a decision. And if you use an agent, they are going to tell you exactly what you want to buy. And if you're buying an off-plan property, it's even more important to have. And if you're buying a ready property, it's even more important to use an agent. Because as I said before, when you go to those portals, Property Finder, Bayut, and you see a property there and you click the link and it goes to an agent, that agent's mission is to sell the property. No matter what, he's going to convince you out any kind objection that you may have about this property because of the area, because of the layout, because of the finishes, because of the quality. They are going to try to blind you to not see all these problems because their mission is to sell the property. They don't care if you're making a good investment. They don't care if you are paying the right price. They don't care about anything. The only thing that the seller's agents care is to sell his clients, which is the owner, the property. So if you want someone that is going to defend your interests, use an agent. Another point is don't use several agents. And I always use this example. If you have a problem in your knee, right? You interview several doctors until you find someone that you are actually comfortable to work with. Okay, I like this doctor. I like the way that he approaches things. I like his solution. I feel confident I'm going to work with him. You talk to several doctors, but you select one to treat your knee, to do the surgery on your knee. You're not going to do 2 surgeries with 2 different doctors. You're going to select just one. The same thing a lawyer. If you have a problem, you're going to interview several lawyers, but in the end of the day, you're going to hire just one. Why you're going to do differently with an agent? You have one mission, which is buy a property, which is probably the biggest part of your assets. You're going to put a lot of money on that. Maybe you're going to get into debt to buy a property, and you are going to spread yourself thin, talking to several agents who are not going to give you the attention that you deserve because they know that you are working with other people. So if you really want to be serious about buying a property, you are a first-time buyer, even if you are an experienced investor, you probably have done less deals than one agent. Why? Because you only do deals for yourself and the agent does deals for everyone. So probably the agent went through situations that you never have seen before. It's not because he's an agent that he doesn't have the investor's experience. Of course, you have your own experience, you went through your own struggles, and you know what is good for you. But an agent is not going to cost you more and actually can bring you more knowledge and more value than you think. So if you want to buy a property off plan, secondhand, you are experienced or you are not, just use an agent, one agent. Okay, now you know what a property freehold, leasehold is. You select your agents. Now you're going to sit down with that agent and you are going to describe your goals, your needs, and your strategy, because that's going to optimize his time and yours. If you don't disclose with this agent everything that you need, everything that you want, the areas, the motivations that you have, the budget, most importantly, the budget that you have, this agent will feed you with information that you don't want and you don't need. If you want a 4-bedroom and you tell the agent, well, maybe a 3 is good, he's going to look for properties and he's going to deliver exactly what you want. So the more clear you are with your agent and with yourself about your goals, your needs, and your expectations, the result is going to be the best. So always have your strategy aligned with your agents, and it's okay to change your strategy during this time. Maybe you want to increase the budget, maybe you want to decrease the budget. Maybe now, because you are buying a bigger property, you want to use mortgage, which before you didn't. All of that, it's okay, as long as you keep constant communication with your agent. And if your agent doesn't want to keep the constant communication with you, or if he's complaining too much that you are changing your mind, change the agent, because in the end of the day, he's there to serve you, not the other way around. Now, that doesn't mean that it's okay for you to just say whatever you want, tell your agent that you want to buy in Palm Jumeirah, and all of a sudden you are sending him or her links of properties that are in Dubai South. One thing has nothing to do with the other. So if you are that far apart, you don't have a strategy and you need to regroup with your agent to actually define what you want. And if you want investment, in the end of the day, investment is numbers. It doesn't matter what's the color, what's the size, what this and what's that. If that property that the agents are finding you meet the criteria of your investment, return, liquidity, and things like that, everything else is pure subjective. So define the strategy and stick with it. Okay, so now let's go to the actual process of buying a property, and we are going to start with the ready properties. When you buy a ready property, you selected the property, right? You already talked to the agent to define your strategy. You viewed several properties, and now you have one. First step you're going to do is to write a MOU, which is a Memorandum of Understanding. On that memorandum, you're going to express how do you want to buy this property, price, conditions, subjective things that you want to put or take out, of that contract, and you're going to send that MOU to the seller. The seller may agree or may not agree with all your terms, and he's going to send his terms. And once you agree on both terms, you're going to sign the MOU, and now is important, the agents are going to use directly the system of DLD, Dubai Land Department, to issue the contract. That's the most different thing that I think here from the market in Dubai. In the US, in Florida, we have a standard contract from the Florida Realtors Association in the bar, but we still need to fill out that contract, and it's a private, and we send to the buyer, to the seller, and then we use that contract to register the property, right? But here in Dubai, it's not that it's just a standard contract. This contract is issued within the system of the Dubai Land Department, so the government is overseeing everything. That makes everything more transparent and safe for you, so everything is traceable, and we can understand and we can track everything that has been done. And the good thing is that this contract has a date and needs an extension. The system from the government sends everyone a notice, so that's very safe. That's extra peace of mind for you. Okay, in the US, we have the escrow account and the title company. Here in Dubai is a little bit different. Instead of having an escrow account in the terms of the US within the title company, we have actually a trustee office, which is a financial institution authorized by the local authorities to run as a trustee office, which their main job is to help foreigners to buy property, or even locals, right? Because in Brazil, for instance, when I want to buy a property, I send the money directly to the seller before I have the title, or in the same day at the same time that we are the title company registering everything. So sometimes it's an awkward situation of who trusts who, right? Because I need to send you the money, but you need to give me the title. So do I trust you that you are going to give me the title, or you trust me that I'm going to give you the money? That's not very cool. In the US, we have the title company. We send the money, and only after everything is done, the money exchange hands. And here Dubai is a little bit similar, but we don't have the title company. The closing is actually done at the office of the Dubai Land Department. So the trustee offices, they receive all the funds, and then they disperse the funds at the DLD, at the Dubai Land Department. If you are here, if you are local, if you are a resident, you don't need to use a trustee office. You can issue the checks, the manager checks directly from your account. A manager check is like a cashier check in the US. We issue the manager check, and at the day of the closing, we go to the DLD and you present all the checks. But if you are a foreigner, you don't have a bank account here, you have to use a trustee office, because you're going to wire the funds to his account, to the trustee office account, and the trustee office is going to sign the checks and issue the checks in favor of the seller. However, just like in the US, and just like if you were here issuing your own checks, the seller is only going to cash those checks at the day of closing if everything is fine. So at the day of closing, everybody goes to the Dubai Land Department, the trustee officer, the seller, and the buyer with all the contracts and all the documentation, and everything is kosher. You have a deal, and you get out of the DLD already with a title. Different from the US, where after the closing, the title company, sometimes in Miami it takes 3 to 4 weeks. In other counties may take more or less for the title to be registered. Here in Dubai, they are done at the spot. Now let's talk about closing costs, and very straightforward. If you're buying an off-plan property, your closing cost is going to be 4%, which is registration at the Dubai Land Department. Every transaction you're going to be paying 4% to the government. Plus, then depends on each developer. Some developers charge 500 dirhams, some developers charge 2,500 dirhams to do the process. But basically that's it, 4% plus a small fee. Now, if you're buying a secondary market property, you're going to pay usually 2% as agency fee, the 4% for the DLD, and plus a few fees, extra fees for registration, transaction, trustee office, and things like that. So you can expect on the secondary market to pay between 7 to 9% if you use a mortgage. If you use a mortgage, you're going to pay extra because you need to pay all the costs associated with the mortgage. So a mortgage property will have about 9 to 10% cost. If you are buying cash, it's going to be around 7 to 8, and if you are buying on an off plan, the closing cost is going to be approximately just 4, maybe 5%. Now, if you're going to buy an off plan property, the process is a little bit different. The first thing you're going to do when a developer issue a new project, they are launching a new project, you are going to sign a EOI, expression of interest. Basically, with that document, you're not committing to buy a property. They are not committing to give you a property. You are just stepping to the line to say, hey, I'm interested in this project. Some developers, they don't charge any deposit for the EOI. You just need to enter the website at the time, at the moment, and book an appointment to go there physically to select your unit. And some developers, when the demand is too high, they require a deposit, 10,000, 100,000, 200,000, depends on the size of the unit and how many units are available in that overall project. Because at the end of the day, they want to select the best clients, and as the demand is high, they may increase the value of the EOI. So you signed the EOI, you made the deposit to the developer. Now we are going to the second phase, which is booking an appointment to select the unit, right? So usually after the EOI, some developers use a token system where you go to their website and you register and you receive a token, basically a number at the line. So they are going to call, I want this token, these numbers. And depending on how fast or how high was your deposit on EOI, you may have allocation on the first slots or on the last slot. So of course, the earlier that you are on that line, the more possibility you have to select the unit that you want. So after the EOI, you're going to sit down and see, okay, I want to buy a 4-bedroom. And at this moment, usually the developers don't release a lot of information of the projects prior to you sitting down selecting your units prior to the launch, to create a sense of scarcity, a sense of urgency that I need to go there to select my property. So I went with a client, for instance, in a DAFC project, and we didn't know the price until we sat down. And the moment that we sat down, the price was too high. We just walked away and we didn't proceed. So now that you are there, you're going to see a 1 or 2 bedrooms. They're going to show you what is available. But keep in mind that while you're looking at that, several other people are also looking at that. So if you take too long to make a decision, other people may do the decision faster than you, and then you may lose the property that you wanted to choose. So if you didn't find a property that fits your needs or the prices are not what you were expecting, you can withdraw your intention and your deposit is going to come back. But if you actually selected a unit and you want to move forward, that initial deposit that you made already goes towards the price, and now you just need to do the payment as the payment schedule that the developer defined for that specific project. Along with the down payment on an off-plan property here in Dubai, you are going to have to pay the 4% to the DLD, to the Dubai Land Department. In the case of you buying a property in Abu Dhabi, for instance, is only 2%, and you can spread that 2% during the whole construction. At the end of the day, in Abu Dhabi, you just need to have the 2% paid before handover, but here in Dubai, you need to pay at the beginning. So it depends on which emirate are you going to be buying, but the main difference between Dubai and Abu Dhabi and all the others is that Dubai you pay on the spot, and the other ones, especially Abu Dhabi, you can pay during the construction. If you want to resell your property during the construction, you need to check the terms and conditions on your contract. Most of the developers allow you to do that as long as you have paid between 40 to 60%. If you haven't paid all that amount and you still want to sell, the next guy that you are going to sell to, they are going to have to pay that difference to complete the 40, the 50, or the 60%, depending on what you're on contract, to be able to transfer your contract to his. And then after the construction is done, we have the handover. the handover, they are going to tell you, look, the property is ready, you need to pay the balance. Usually you're going to do an inspection, they are going to do the snagging, see whatever needs to be modified or change or adjust, and they are going to do that prior to the final payment. And after everything is done, you pay the final payment to the developer, and then you receive the title. Now, it's important for you to know that during the construction, you don't have a title, but you're going to have another document that is called OCUD that says that that property that is going to be delivered in the future is yours. So that's a pre-title. And now the last step is, how can you buy a property? And you basically can buy a property in three ways. Number one, you can buy a property under your own name, which is very good because here in Dubai, you don't have inheritance tax like you have in the US and other countries like Brazil or Europe. So that's the main reason why people buy on their own name. The second reason people buy their own name is to get a golden visa or a property visa. If you buy a property under your name, from 750,000 dirhams, you can have like a regular visa, and from 2 million dirhams, you can have a golden visa, which is for 10 years. The second way that you can buy a property is under SPV, a corporation in the UAE. Some people want to do that because they want to remain anonymous of who is the owner of that property for whatever reason that they want. However, in that structure, you don't have how to apply for the golden visa or any kind of visa attached to the property because the rule is that you need to have the property on your own name. And the third way that you can buy a property here is you have a corporation that is a foreign corporation. This corporation or this LLC, a trust or whatever, they are going to own an institution, a company, a corporation, a foundation, whatever it is here in Dubai. And this institution, this corporation, this entity is going to buy the property. So this way you protect your assets, you remain completely anonymous, and you are doing at your own country some kind of tax protection and asset protection strategy. So you can buy either way. You just need to understand what's your goals and what can be done. I have a client that ultimately what they want is the golden visa. So they are going to buy the property in their own name, even though they wanted to do the structure because they have a family holding. They were going to open a company here to buy the property, but then they don't have a golden visa. So they're just going to do that. And that's how you buy a property here in Dubai. If you're thinking to invest in the next 9 days, 90 days, 9 months, or even 9 years, start the process today. My contacts are in the description of this video, so you can send me an email, schedule a meeting, or you can just comment below and I'll reply to you. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to not miss any other videos about strategies and properties here in Dubai, in the US, in Brazil, and in Europe. See you in the next video.